Wait.
Episode 155.
The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Need a show about outdoor living? This is where it's at. With your hosts, Shane Chapman and Wade Loren. Thank you for tuning in. Now let the show begin. Yeah. The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Let's go.
The only good thing about you being here is that it makes the intro accurate again. That's the only good thing.
Show up just often enough to keep my name on the intro.
Yeah. Every time we start talking about, like, we should really redo that intro, Wade shows up.
Yeah, and then
somehow.
we have to keep it.
Yeah. Welcome back
Yeah.
to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Wade Laurent.
It's good to be back.
Bryce Walaniuk.
Woo!
Shane Chapman.
Much less of a break this time for me.
Between episodes that you've been on. Yeah.
Was it 3 weeks ago? 3 episodes?
Yeah, too long ago you were here. Yeah. How was the drive down today? Down
Boring.
the...
Today
What
was
highway is that?
11.
Yeah, right. Highway 11. Regina and
Highway
Saskatoon.
11.
One of the most famous.
Is
You
it?
know what? Typically that drive isn't too bad, but today it was just like, I don't know why.
Did you stop in Davidson?
Because you had extra pressure because I told you weren't going to make it here for 11:30 and you're like, yep, I will. So that's why you didn't like to
Should've
drive
just
today.
came
Because
here.
you knew from the time you left that you were not going to win that bet.
Yep.
I should have just came straight here.
But you didn't.
I didn't want to leave my dog outside in the, like, if we were in Saskatoon, he would have just been fine because he roams in the, like, in the yard in the back.
Right, yeah.
But here you guys keep your gates open, so we can't do that.
Yeah, we don't have dogs here. The gates can be open.
Yeah.
That'd be a good deterrent, though.
He's awesome. He like
Get some dogs.
people
right?
pull up and he
Who needs
barks
security?
like crazy. He goes bananas when people show up at the
The only people that break our gates is our own people. No.
Oh,
We have dogs to keep our
Graphics.
own people from running over our shit.
I don't even know how that happened last time.
I don't know.
The gate was open and he ran into it.
That's like you have to be trying to hit a gate that's open with a vehicle.
comes back to the beaver tail hasn't been cut off that truck. And so
Yeah, that beaver tail's cost us a few times.
should have just cut it off.
Probably up to about $3-4 grand worth of damage
You could've
based on the
just cut
beaver
it
tail
off.
alone. Over tow trucks trying to get it out of a ditch because you hang it up with the beaver tail, or
yeah.
backing into gates or what have you. It's
A
been,
house. They hit a house.
hit a house.
Once.
Oh, yeah.
Hit a house. That was good too.
That was this year.
Nope.
No.
No, a couple years
Unless
ago.
they hit a house again.
I'm pretty
No,
sure they hit
didn't.
a house this year.
Did they?
Yeah.
No. Oh, you're right.
Right? They hit a house
on.
this
Yeah,
year.
they scraped Dan Benesh's house. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. Son of a- okay, it's time. We'll cut the beaver tail off this winter. It's done.
Cut it
for-
off with a hacksaw. Like I could spend all winter cutting it off.
Next person that hits something with it has to cut it off with a hacksaw.
Right then and there. We'll put a hacksaw in the cab of the truck. And it's like if you hit something, you immediately stop. Spend the rest of your day cutting that off.
Chop this off.
Okay, well, Bryce.
Westrom. Crashes, that's a cost of doing business. On your annual budget, Westrom, what percentage do you allow for crash recovery? We haven't built that into our budget.
Right?
And 1.5% for vehicular crashes. Bryce, what do you got for us today?
Halloween. That's what I got.
Voyeurism. Now you know.
It is a Halloween episode because this will post on October 30th.
October
the day
30th.
before Hallows Eve.
All Hallows Eve. So, you guys, are you dressing up? Maybe?
think so.
No? Yes?
I don't think I will.
If you were to dress up, what would you dress up as?
My real answer would be Ricky Vaughn because I still have my ball uniform in my truck. It'd be the easiest thing to put together on short notice.
That's right.
Dracula, because I have that costume.
Still?
Always.
How old is that?
I think I got it in university.
Oh, there you go.
Still fits.
I went and found a list of the...
Hold on before you get started. Master of Decks, they can't even hear the thing we just played.
Oh, yeah.
It says voyeurism. Now you know. He says we have to get one that says, you're going to get some tow truck quotes. Nobody's going to touch my price. That's a good
We
one.
have that one.
We do, yeah.
Kind of.
Okay, sorry. Continue with your uselessness.
Okay, my uselessness today is the worst sexy costumes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a top 5 list, and I've compiled a bunch of them. But number 5 is sexy vegetables. Who wants to be a sexy vegetable?
That reminds me of Daddy Daycare. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Where they're trying to sell Veggios and they bring in the mascots and they're dressed up as a broccoli and a carrot.
That's exactly what it is. There's sexy carrot costumes. There's sexy corn costumes.
Huh.
Would you want a sexy piece
chunk of corn
coming at you?
Depends what kind of sexy time you're into, I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah, no.
And
Sexy mushroom, says Carly.
Yeah, sexy mushroom. That also goes along with sexy food costumes that are always out there, like bananas and hamburgers and pizzas. Actually, not bananas. Pizza and hamburgers.
I don't know that I've seen sexy food costumes. Like sexy animals, yeah. Like these girls run around, they put bunny ears on, they're like, I'm a bunny.
Yeah.
Those are lame.
In lingerie. I'm a deer in lingerie. Like it's just like they put on whatever headband and then wear nothing.
Yeah.
So how do you make a carrot sexy?
You basically just put a picture of a carrot on a tight dress.
They're not even trying anymore.
They're not even trying.
Okay.
But these last three are by far the worst.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Is this going to show up in your browser history, this stuff?
Yes, this will.
Okay.
So feel free.
Sexy costumes. Back,
Carrot cleavage. What?
Number 3 is anybody from the McDonald's like mascot.
Oh,
line.
yeah.
So there's a sexy hamburglar.
Well, they don't have to be sexy.
Yeah, no, these are all sexy.
All
ones.
sexy?
This
Oh,
is
man.
all the worst sexy costumes.
Sexy Grimace.
Sexy Grimace and a sexy Ronald. You can actually buy these costumes.
Sexy Ronald, that's creepy.
Yeah, it's weird.
Ronald's already pretty sexy.
Some weird stuff.
Yeah, that shit's getting a little weird there for sure.
Okay, and continuing on with that, number 2 of the worst sexy costumes are children's TV show characters.
Yeah.
Like Ernie, Bert, Barney, and Caillou.
Yeah.
That is weird. Like now you're getting into
You're
some
crossing a line.
Right?
pedo play going on there.
That's a
now.
little weird.
That's a little weird. Yeah.
And the worst sexy costume I found, sexy Hulk Hogan.
Oh, yeah.
Sexy Hulk Hogan. What?
Yes.
They actually like
Hulkamania.
They like bald top head, just
Bald
blonde
top.
hair. Out. Yeah.
Mustache, handlebars, rip the shirt.
And is this like we're talking about like
You can buy all
females
of these
dressing up
costumes.
as sexy Hulk Hogan? Good
Yes,
for them.
not males.
Yeah. I don't know that I could stop myself. Wow! Look at her.
That's
Okay.
the uselessness today.
Yeah, that was interesting. A couple comments here. The Carly says that the large mushroom costume looks like a giant's penis. I could see that. Haney Construction says a whipped cream only costume on a hot chick. What's less sexy than that? I don't know. I feel like we should get away from this.
Yeah, let's get away from this now.
So what are you dressing up as? Hold on. Are you?
No.
First of all?
No, I'm not. I'm not a Halloween guy.
The last time you dressed up for Halloween, what did you dress up as?
What did I so this is funny. Last time I dressed up, I ironically dressed up as a sexy cop.
Like,
I went and got a ladies sexy cop costume.
you were dressed up as a lady sexy cop?
Yes.
So
It was a Halloween party. I lost a bet.
what's the backstory? Like, how did you decide, like, I'm going to be a sexy
lost a
cop,
bet.
but like
I lost a bet.
female one?
Because it's not funny if you're like, I couldn't pull off a sexy male cop.
Nope.
Super tight shorts, the chest open, and a dirty stash.
That's just Reno 911.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm describing, essentially. Yeah. Wade, last time you dressed up, do you remember?
Wayne from Wayne's World.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember what I like. It's been a long time since I dressed up for Halloween.
Yeah.
I actually
Last
don't
year? You
even
didn't
remember.
dress up last year?
No, I haven't I don't think I've ever dressed up since I had kids, which you'd think like, oh, you should dress up with your kids and go. But
Yes. You're going door to door asking for food.
yeah, well,
Put in some effort.
I'm not asking.
They say there's no limit on trick-or-treating as long as you put in the effort.
Oh, maybe I'll give it a go.
So as an adult, you could go trick-or-treating.
Sure. Okay. Well, Ricky Vaughn then.
Ricky Vaughn.
That's happening.
Do it.
Do it.
But we might as well get on to the rest of the show. Staying with the beautiful theme of Halloween, which is 2 weeks running now. I think last week we did a Halloween themed one as well.
Scary.
Spooky.
Spooky.
Felt really good, so we did it again. And today We're talking about 13 things because it has to be 13, right? You get it, Wade? Like why we would choose 13?
We're 666.
Bryce said we should have chose 14 things and not
14.
counted 13 because it's superstition. But 13 tricks or treats that you can use while you're building your deck. This is tricks from the pros.
Tricks from the pros?
Well, it's tricks from me. But, like,
Who once was a pro?
Who once was a pro?
1 year.
These are just little things that you don't have to necessarily do when you're building deck, but they make your deck building experience either a little bit quicker, more efficient, or a better finish by doing these things. So
They're
not
treats.
requirements. They're treats. Tricks that result in treats.
Okay.
You don't sound impressed with that.
Here we go.
He's like,
This is
anyways,
why we
so I
kicked
got to
you
go back
off
to
the podcast.
Saskatoon. No, did I tell you guys I had to be back at 5?
I mean, I don't sound excited. I bet you we've already talked about all
Well,
these
that
things.
part sounded like
Yeah,
you
that
were
was
excited.
great.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Number 1 is sorting your lumber. And what do we mean by that, Wade?
You take the 2x6s and you put them in a pile, and then you take the 2x8s and you put them in a pile.
That's not what I meant, but
Right.
that's
No.
that's a good one too.
No,
though.
I think
Yeah.
you're discussing organizing your lumber so that you can tell the height of each one of them. So you're going to progressively order your lumber so that it does not create a wave effect in your decking.
There we go.
Thickest to thinnest.
Right.
Because a 2x8 is never 8 inches.
You mean it's not 2x8?
Not one time.
Why not?
We've told this story before, but do you remember when we were building our first
Starts
store
that size, and then they cut it down.
and we had to order some regular lumber before we were ever open? We ordered it from who's now one of our competitors, but at the time I don't know why
Co-op.
we had to it. Yeah, it was Co-op.
It was for the floor joist for the mezzanine floor up top.
Did we order those? Did we do that? Yeah. So the delivery driver brings 2x12s, which is what he was supposed to bring. That's what we asked for.
That's what you asked for.
2x12.
But he showed up and he like unstrapped his load, and we went out to meet him and like help unload it. And he took a tape measure out there for some reason and measured. He's like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry, you guys. They gave me the wrong stuff." And Wade's like, "No, I think those are the right ones." He's like, "No, they're supposed to be 2x12s. These are only 1.5 inches by like 11 1/4." And we're like,
What?
He was loading them back up when I stopped him. I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm taking them back. They're the wrong size." They're not the wrong size. That's exactly what I want. No, they're only 11 1/4.
They're 2x12s.
yeah,
Then I said to Shane, I was like, I think I should send them
we
back.
should send him back. Yeah.
I think I should get him to load those up and send them back.
And tell him
That
to
would be so
light up
funny.
whoever loaded that order. Go back there and you tell that guy he doesn't know what the hell.
We didn't because we were waiting on
So the benefit of doing this, the reason for doing this is because, like you said, lumber, for a variety of reasons, either it's plain inconsistently or it's got different moisture content or whatever, it's cupped to ground in the drying process. They're not consistent from one to the next. So if you don't pay any attention to that and you go build your deck, you may sort by lack of sorting in order. They might be like, a thick one and then a thinner one and then a thicker one and a thicker one and then like a normal one and then a thinner one. And what ends up happening, especially with composite decking, is the composite basically maps itself
You get a big wave.
to the waves of the lumber. So an easy way to mitigate that is to sort your lumber first and just arrange them from the thickest ones to the thinnest ones. Start with your 7 3/8 pile, get down to your 7 1/8 pile. And that way, when you put them in order, the line is straight. Right.
And then
when
you could slide a level across it like
Yeah.
everybody does.
Yeah.
And then
Everybody
keeps going.
slides levels across. Yeah.
I
So
think
that just avoids a
we
lot
should
of
build a deck
planing
that's
and
like-
whatever else.
We should build one that's just wonky as all heck and then try and slide a level across and see if we can
Plang, 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 breaks the vials. It's like,
Yeah.
this is brought to you by Stabila.
Yeah. But get like a power fist one and be like, brought to you by
Yeah.
Power Fist, and just rip it across. Bam! And it like flips and rolls and be like, good enough for me. Throw the decking on,
Yeah. That'll be good by next week.
pour water on it, it all drains off. It like runs off the boards as fast as you could imagine. Be like, yeah, see? Build them straight and flat, then the water doesn't
Then
go
the water
anywhere.
stays right there.
So if you just spend 5 or 10 minutes sorting your lumber, grading your lumber on the ground before you start putting them up, you're going to save yourselves a lot of headaches going through the rest of the deck. It'll end up in a better finish. So easy enough to do. Then the wonky ones, the ones that are really buggered where they don't really fit anywhere, those are your blocking pieces.
Yeah.
You pull those out, you cut them up into your 16-inch on center blocking or wherever you need small pieces, you cut it up.
Or you send them back to your lumber yard and be like, these are garbage.
Yeah.
Or you get steel framing and then you don't have to do any of this.
Right. Somebody beat you to the punch in that already. Master decks.
Damn.
Master of decks.
Don't have to grade steel framing. Thought you were so
I
witty
thought
there,
it was
eh,
there. I
Bryce?
can't even see it.
Right. Number 2, hanging your joist hangers after you put your joists up.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, makes perfect sense to me.
So a
That
lot
doesn't make any sense.
a lot of DIY or people that aren't deck builders for a living, or maybe they're even interior guys that work with more consistent lumber or engineered stuff where stuff is consistent, would often hang their hangers first. They'd put their temporarily, not temporarily, but like tack their joist hangers on first and then come back and drop joists into the hangers.
Right.
Which
Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Logically.
for the same reason that we want to sort our lumber, because the lumber sizes are different. You know, the way you normally do that, you take a little scrap piece of 2x8 or 2x10, put it in the hanger, hold that up where you want it to be so it's flush with the top of your ledger, put your hanger on. But if the chunk of 2x8 you're using as the guide is 7 1/4 inches, and then the piece
There
of
you
joist
go.
you got to drop in there is 7 3/8, now you're proud by 1/8 of an inch. And then the next one's,
Then you have to plane,
Drop by an eighth
plane
inch.
all your joists.
well, it just kind of buggers you. Yeah, you set all your joists at different heights because you relied on consistency, which doesn't existency.
Doesn't exist in C.
Just have to get a sledgehammer.
Oh, you just smash the shit out of it.
Just that top,
yeah.
just that 2 inches where the deck board's gonna meet up with the ledger. Like
Just that spot, not
that's-
like
yeah, 'cause you
anywhere
just
in
don't
the
want
middle.
board to rock. You just bang the living snot out of it, and then
Yeah.
moving on.
Then the next one, get underneath and bang the living snot out of the bottom side and jack it up, bend the hanger, all the shit.
Pound a wedge in there, but guys, good to go.
So what the pros do is they'll tack their joists in place first with a nailer. Some guys, Dr. Dex uses like a 15 gauge nailer or something like that. So they're really kind of tacked in temporarily. A lot of guys will use a screw or just framing nailer. Just tack it in place, your joist, and then go back afterwards, put your hangers on up underneath tight and put them in place then. That
Perfect
way it
every
accounts
time.
for all the lumber inconsistency.
Wow.
Perfect every time.
Now you know.
Now you know.
So that's a good little tip,
That's a Wade line.
right? I was waiting for him to say it and he wasn't, so I took it.
It's all yours. You can have it. I was first to market with it, anyways.
Number 3 is avoiding miter joints with composite decking anyway.
Depending on what type of compass you have.
Sure, yeah, there's
some good
argument to be made that a miter, but a lot of people they'll just miter the joint because that's what you would do that's the normal way to do any sort of finish work like that when you're doing some sort of border around something is to miter something.
Yeah.
The reason for not wanting to do it on a deck with composite anyway is the thermal expansion and contraction can make those miters look pretty naughty after a little bit of time. Yeah.
Spelled
Yeah.
different though.
Like it could be nice and then naughty.
That's
I got you. That's Christmas.
That's Christmas stuff coming up.
We're a little
Maybe
early.
it's a little
Skipping ahead in the
Maybe it's a little spooky.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Real frightening miters we got going on here. So avoid them. You can just not do miters, which a lot of people do. And the potential solution for still making it look nice would be either to paint the cut ends with a color matched paint, which you can do, or the famous miter fold that's happening now everywhere. And the miter fold is where
It's a
you
miter fold.
well, instead of mitering 2 pieces together on a flat plane, you would basically like bevel and fold over the end of the board. So on the back side, you would cut through, let's call it 90% of the way through, like V cut it, miter cut it on the back side, heat that up and fold the grain over so that the surface of the board rolls and waterfalls down the edge of the board. And so the end cut, or where the end cut was, is now a finished edge.
Wow.
So it takes a bit more precision, a bit more patience to do that. Dabbing with some paint too would be a decent solution too.
Right.
Depending on what board you're using. Right? If you're using just a solid color board and the paint solution, like have at her, no one's ever going to notice. If you're using a board that has a lot of like fine detail to it, well, the paint might be a little bit more obvious. But
Does anybody put do inlays on the corner? Like some sort of like design feature on the corner?
There's been a Celtic knot done on the corner before.
yeah,
Because that would
least
solve
100 times.
all
Two
of
of
those
them.
miter problems, wouldn't
that
it?
was 2018's design trend.
Yeah.
Just in the corners.
Yeah.
What do we got here? Quigley Deck says, screw a 2x4 across the top of the ledger board, push your joist up to it, and bang, bang, away you go. All joists are even height.
Truth.
So avoid your miters. That'll end up in a better finish. Maybe not today, but tomorrow it'll look better.
So
avoid that.
boy, was it on? What day is today? Thursday.
Yeah.
I believe that it was on Tuesday. We had some customers in the Saskatoon location, and they were looking at some decking, and they wanted to miter the corner. So I had told them to leave it slightly
You
apart.
sprayed them in the nose with a water bottle.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
So I was like, you'll want to maybe leave that open just a little bit, like just a little bit right now, because they're going to do it next week or the week after. And I was like, oh man, it's going to be 0.
Yep.
And so that's going to expand in the spring. And this is one of the things I love about being on the floor is that, like, I sprinkled just a mind-boggling statement on that guy when I told him that he was not ready.
Got weak in the knees.
He was just standing there, and he's like, his eyes glazed over. And he like took a step back from the counter. It's the fact that he wasn't going to put that miter together was not okay. He was like, yeah, but don't you butt them together? I was
Yeah,
like,
isn't that the point?
you could, but then it's gonna, like, in the summer it'll expand, and then all those screws are gonna break, and you're gonna be anyways.
So
Interesting.
did he take your advice, or did he walk out thinking like that guy's an idiot?
He probably walked out thinking that guy's an idiot. He did not pay for the decking. He was just getting some information.
Drove over to the competitor where they wouldn't tell him such
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They told him what he wanted to
bullshit.
hear.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you miter those tight, bud.
Yeah, put them right up,
That's what I thought.
up next to each other.
That guy over at the deck shop, he's such an idiot. He told me. Yeah. Okay. See you out there.
Number 4. This one's very common for DIY. They don't even think to do this, and some contractors too. When you're doing a picture frame, install the field boards first, the middle boards first.
Why?
And then trim the ends off and install your picture frame. But the default way for a lot of people to do it is they think that they should put the picture frame on first, border everything in, then cut their boards to length,
Right.
and then drop them into the middle of the picture frame.
And
Which
that's
is
wrong.
Fine.
That's the wrong way to do
That's
it.
the wrong way to do it.
It's incredibly inefficient and not accurate.
Yeah, it does seem like it would take a
Explained
lot of
that to
time.
a group of guys in Saskatoon the other day, and they're contractors, and I explained that to them, and they wouldn't even try it.
What? Really?
They did 14 decks where they built the box and filled it in. I was like, just on one, just one
one.
deck, try it. And they're like, nope.
He should be like, if it takes you longer,
This-
I'll give you 50
So why
bucks.
were they
This is how
pushing
we-
back on it?
This is how we build decks. We build them like this. Yeah, hey, don't let me get in your way.
Fine.
Have a good one.
Because to do it that way, you put your picture frame on, then you take every board
You have to cut-
individually,
Yeah.
and you
Cut it twice.
cut it twice. Yeah, clean off the factory end, then go to there and measure down and cut it to. And sometimes the measurement might not be the same. Like maybe you've planned out your picture frame so it is the same measurement all the way down. Fine, you got one measurement. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Like sometimes if you have if the deck jogs somewhere or there's a second portion to it, the boards get longer. You got to measure different lengths, whatever. Well, if you just put the boards on first and trim them, then you don't have to do any measuring. You just lay all the boards, snap a line, run your skill saw, or
Track saw.
or if you're not a hack,
There it is. Yeah. I told the homeowner that same thing as well about, so you're going to leave your miters open, and then I think you should do all your deck boards and then put your picture frame on last. Again, as
No
if
dice.
I'd grown a third arm out of my chest.
yeah, to
did-
slap.
Just shot them. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to follow up with him next week and see if he actually even
Like,
bought
how'd
that
that
deck.
go?
No, if he's going to buy the decking from us.
Oh,
so
okay.
what did you pick up from Rona after you walked out of the store? Anyways.
But I think most people I've mentioned that to, it clicks. They're like, oh yeah, never really thought to do it like that, but that would be a lot faster and more accurate. Like, and I think a lot of people they might shy away from it because they're worried about their ability to cut a straight line on a skill saw, especially if they're DIY or not as experienced. But you should also be concerned about your ability to take a 160-inch measurement and cut a floppy board on your miter saw accurately too.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
you're also
right?
not going to nail that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's still more accurate, even if you aren't cutting a perfectly straight line. It's still more accurate to do that way.
Yeah.
So that's the way to go about it.
Yep.
We got some comments here now. Haney Construction, field first versus picture frame first is exactly why y'all need a DIY equals piece of shit shirt.
Whoa.
just point at that shirt when amateurs say stupid shit. Oh, wowzers. Another track saw comment. And Quigley Deck says, Wade, I guess you ain't getting a track saw sale there.
I sure am not.
No. So, track saw or not, like track saws, for those who don't know, contractors are a lot of like decking contractors know what they are, but they're basically a plunge cut skill saw that rides on a track, so you can't not cut the line perfectly straight. You have a machined piece of aluminum that's perfectly straight that the saw rides on. Like it's foolproof. You can put your like youngest guy in the crew on that, and he's going to cut a straight line. No problem.
Always cut a straight line.
Yeah. The other option, if you don't have it, snap a line or use some sort of straight edge and run your skill saw down it. It will do the same thing, but more accurate, more efficient. So why wouldn't
will it do the same?
Not any dimensional lumber. No dimensional lumber is straight, so don't use that.
Yeah. I kept these as two separate ones so that we could get to 13.
Okay. Sorry,
what do you want?
Well, you were going to check the next one on the list.
No. I'm just like, I was counting. It's number 6. Wade, in case you were wondering.
Gotcha.
That means we're almost halfway there. Number 6, I put as using SD screws. So here's the thing. A lot of contractors are rolling around with positive placement nailers, joist hanger nailers. And those are just fine. Like they're amazing tools. DIY is not going to own one of those. They're probably going to slam in whatever screw they can find in the garage floor into the hanger.
Drywall screws.
Probably what they're going to
right.
But if they want to do it properly, they're faced with two choices. One, hand bang some nails in there, or use these SD screws.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, because a lot of stores, they're getting more out there now, but a lot of stores aren't even familiar with the SD screws. They just sell you the nails. And like, then you have to learn how to use a hammer. And
Which
nobody
is
wants to do that.
It's painful.
Maybe not for you anymore.
Yeah, no.
You probably always miss.
No, you have to hold it with your index finger and and your middle finger. That's how you hold those nails.
That's how you hold them.
No, there's no chance that you do.
The rest of us use our opposable thumbs.
Do you actually hold those hanger nails with your thumb?
It's been so long since I actually handbanged. No, I probably don't. You're right. Like I'm just making a thumb joke because as you're showing me how you do it, there's a missing digit.
It's the same as when you shingle a roof. Like nobody actually holds shingle nails with their thumb because it's like they're so short. You have to
get into a tight space.
Good thing that's not on the camera. Hey,
Smokes.
Holy smokes!
Master at Deck says my wife left her ex for me because he didn't have a track saw.
That's right.
She's a smart gal. Haney says that's exactly why I always carry 2-track saws, buddy. So SD screws, they're amazing, and they're super simple to put in. They're much less effort, easier on your joints. You're not swinging a hammer. You just plug it into your drill that you already have on you anyway, and you shoot these little screws in there, and they're reversible. If you make a mistake, you pull them back out. And
multiple people on your crew can put them in. You don't have to have 2 $400 nailers.
Yep.
You already have the drills.
They're pretty slick. Good little trick of the trade.
My favorite thing about SD screws is when they all come back. You send out a deck package, and
that was part of the scary episode.
Yeah, it's just so good.
We did 13 scary things that people do, and that was one of them. That was actually what inspired the whole episode. Is people returning all the shit that you were supposed to build your deck with.
Yeah.
Well, I had one yesterday when someone came back with a bunch of Q-Tech tints. They had 5 gallons of tints.
This is the guy right here.
And
I was like, downstairs. I was just.
His name was Joel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joel.
Amazing.
I was just downstairs.
Inside joke here.
I was just downstairs, and there were 7. There was 7 little tints of ashwood.
Yeah.
Tint on the counter, and I yelled at Dale and Fraser because I was like, "Your guys' inventory is wrong, and this is like we can't have this," because earlier in the week I looked up the inventory. We had -1, which I had sold.
Right.
You had 0. I was going to transfer them, but I couldn't. So then I paid $40 to get them couriered out of Ontario to us for this week. And I walk in today, look at the store, and you guys have 7 of them on the counter.
I returned 5 yesterday.
Right. So the inventory was still wrong. But I was like,
inventory was wrong.
How is this? How is it that you have these right here? And so then I was like, you guys need to fix your inventory. If this happened in Saskatoon, we would immediately have somebody count all tints for Q-Tech, and it would be solved now, because Shane and I are getting to the point where it's like, we have to trust that number. We have to be able to trust the inventory number.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even call. It said 0, and I didn't call. I just ordered. Anyways, expensive.
Yeah.
So
we
that's
were doing
the
some
inside
digging.
joke on that.
And I was like, well, how is this possible? So I went and looked it up, and I was like, you're full of shit. It says we have 5. It's like,
nope.
Well, yesterday it didn't. I was like, well, that's not possible. And so I look in the history of things, and it's like, well, 5 were added by refund yesterday into the inventory history.
Yeah.
Well, let's dig into this a bit. Open it up. There's a customer who's like, I think this is legit. I think somebody returned 5 Ashford tints yesterday. But we
Dale
never,
knew
and
the
then
guy.
that was the end of it until you just said it. It was
Dale
like,
knew the guy.
Yeah, there
Dale
you
was
go.
like, well, I sold him a 5-gallon pail. How did he not use any of those tins?
Yep.
Here we are.
She didn't want them.
Okay.
It's a covered deck, and I told her too when she tried to return them. I was like,
All good.
"Did you need these? Because there's no UV protection if you don't put these in there." And they're like, "Well, we like the way the natural look,
Perfect.
and it's covered."
See
and
you
I was
next
like, "Well,
year.
you're okay then."
if it's covered, for sure. What do we got here? Quickly Deck says a track saw. This is a good analogy. A track saw to a deck builder is like a rice cooker to a restaurant owner. The restaurant owner can have the new hire cook a perfect pot of rice.
There you go.
We're going to call them rice cutters now.
Right.
Okay?
That sounds a little.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that.
I was gonna say.
Maybe behind closed doors. You're bordering on PC there.
Yeah.
Deck Protect Incorporated says, have lost almost every nail on my hand doing hangers. Positive placement all the way.
Yeah.
Every
Fingernails.
he means fingernails. Yeah, he doesn't mean
Fingernails.
dropping nails. He means dropping fingernails. Are you guys doing double tints?
Nope.
The odd time, but not very often. People usually use the 1-to-1 ratio.
That sounds like drugs. You guys doing double
You guys
tints
do
tonight?
double tints? You bet. I'll probably do a triple myself. Got shit to do tonight. Number 7, along a similar theme, is using RSS screws or structural leg screws, we'll call them, with the cutters. Like a GRK, like a U2 screw, like a Ledger lock, like a Simpson, what do they call theirs?
SDW.
SDW, like leg screws. So this is opposed, and these are becoming fairly well known. Like there's not many contractors that are still using the old leg screws, but people that don't know that maybe just like Google how to build a deck might find an article that still references using leg bolts or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's wrong.
And the old way of doing it was pre-drilling through your ledger and into your house and then like ratcheting a leg bolt in. That's old news, bro.
Yeah.
You don't need to be pre-drilling nothing.
Right.
You're
You
just
don't even need to
slamming
put a
GRKs
ledger
in that
on.
thing. Yeah, you don't even like,
Just return that.
yeah,
Just
a little-
return it all.
This
Just
was
a
an
little-
extra board I had. I just put my hanger right onto the
little bit of
wall.
PL premium and some time. That's all you need.
Some time.
So these structural leg screws, whatever you want to call them, are amazing. They're one of the best innovations in construction fastening in a long time. You don't have to pre-drill nothing, no matter where you're putting those things, and they just drive in super fast, super strong.
What's
super
a better
tight.
invention, the spiker or those screws? Like an air nailer?
Yeah, you got to give it to the air nailer,
Okay.
You don't sound convinced.
don't you?
I don't think so. I think like houses were a little bit stronger back in the day when they were hand nailed.
But just from a sheer efficiency standpoint, I mean,
Yeah, I didn't
Like
ask
the time
I
to-
didn't ask about efficiency. I just said which one's better between the two. So you weighted it based on efficiency.
yeah, I thought that's where you were going.
Well,
you were
it's
waiting
Just- it
on
was just
what?
nothing.
Finish quality or
No,
like
just a-
strength?
Overall, like you would take the efficiency
So,
over the strength.
I think it depends on who you're talking to.
Why is a hand nail like? Why is
If you're talking to a
slamming-
house framer,
slamming
he's going
nail
to take
in?
the air nailer. And for some reason, that's where my head went right away. I was like, well, for those guys.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It was just a question.
Why is slamming a nail in with your pure brute strength better than?
you just answered your own question.
But why? How is that better
Built
than?
this house with my bare hands.
Because you know that it held.
Oh, okay.
Like when you hit a nail and you drive a nail into something and it makes solid contact, you'll know if it has good contact. And if you're pounding nails into a ledger and you're just nailing it into plywood,
You're shooting air.
You know what I mean?
air
It's
nail
like-
then.
it bounces off. And
Right.
yeah.
Fair enough.
You can tell there's no contact on the backside of that nail. It's like, book. Oh, yeah. That didn't hold.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you had to hand nail your ledger onto your house, you would know how many of the nails you pounded into that ledger missed.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. I guess if I was still building decks, if you asked me, you've got to give up one thing.
Yeah. Give up those
Either
structural
you give up your
screws.
structural screws, go back to legs, or you give up your
Spiker.
spiker.
You'd give up the spiker
I think I probably would.
because you'd run the
'Cause I
structural
use
screws
that
and
shit on everything. Those
and-
GRKs, I use that shit on everything.
and then you'd use
then
your
also
drill to
my-
screw the deck together.
Like railing post mounting and all that crap too. Like, yeah, fine. You win this round, Mr. Wade. TC decks. If you're a framer, you just hammer the big 5/8 leg bolt with your hammer.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Bam. Gonna have to get the what is the new hammer? The Martinez. I'll have to get the Martinez for this one.
Yeah.
Womp womp womp.
This one I never did myself personally, but I've seen people do it. I've seen people recommend it, and I believe that it would result in a better finish. The idea of on your picture frame boards, on your seam boards especially, or your zipper board, whatever you want to call it, is ripping off the radius edge on them. So many boards will have a radius edge. Mm-hmm. They all pretty much do, but it's just how much of it is it kind of softened. Rip them off so you get a sharp 90-degree corner in there, so that your cut ends for your fields boards that are already 90-degree corners, they just they match up perfectly. There's no lip there anymore.
Right.
And it's kind of a slick way to do it. Alternatively, you could round over the ends of your field boards. Because the trouble that we're trying to solve here is that when you've got something that was cut with your track saw, it does relieve a bit of a sharp corner on those boards. And then your seam board, which will have some sort of finished radius edge on it, those things line up, but it creates a bit of a lip that can be kicked and chipped and whatever.
Hard
chipped on maybe. So it's nice to be able to kind of minimize that lip there. And there's two ways to do it. You rip off the radius edge so that they meet on a level plane, both 90-degree corners meeting, or you soften that edge.
Well, from a pure efficiency, it'd be better to do the first one, right?
To rip the edges off the board? So you don't want to
board.
radius edge the field boards too much either, because the capstock on these boards nowadays is not very thick. You can't give it much of a radius edge. Yeah. But to just hit it with your sander and soften the edge, that would be the easiest way to go about maybe tackling
I
that
certainly
a bit,
wouldn't rip to me, this sounds like a conversation for wood. I definitely would not be ripping composite.
Sure. Yeah.
There's not like that.
I've seen some pictures of guys who have done it though, and it does look cleaner because they've taken that little softened edge off so that they both meet, and it looks pretty good. So
this is the master.
Like I said, I've never done it myself, but painting construction, why are you talking about driving any nails into the ledger?
Yeah. We're referring to the framers that had built the house that put the ledger there. Certainly not us doing it.
Yeah, that's how most ledgers are initially installed in this city, it seems. Master decks, don't rip the edge off. Take a rasp to the field decking and install the breaker board, blocking a 30-second tie. Yeah, so that's the other option we were talking about. A rasp or whatever you want to take to soften that edge of the field boards. Just enough so it's not sharp.
Great idea.
Right? So,
and the breaker board a little bit higher. That's good. Is it?
Yeah.
Good call.
Number, that was 8. Number 9, on a lot of jobs, if you plan your stuff out well, you can minimize the amount of waste you have. But sometimes it just works out that you're going to have a little bit of waste, some cutoffs from your decking. Stuff is $3, $4, $5, $6 linear foot. If you have some scrap, find a use for it. If we sell somebody a deck that's say 14 feet, where it's like 12s ain't going to work, 16s are really long, we suggest to people, because once you put that picture frame on too, you've probably got like 2.5 feet of waste almost. Right. Yeah. Cut that up and use it for fascia detail. Sometimes people will use little vertical pieces of board around the outside edge of their deck instead, and they save all the money on the fascia. All of a sudden your waste becomes a way to save money.
Nice.
Or take that and use it for box planners or little garden accessories or whatever. Things you can kind of build. Just don't throw that shit in the garbage. Like 2.5 feet is like a $10 worth of board or more, potentially, that you're throwing away. And it can still be used.
But if you decide to build planter boxes, remember to allocate 2.5 months for that, because that's about how long it takes. It might be more efficient to just throw it in the garbage.
Built the 400 square foot deck in a week. 3 planter boxes, 4 months.
They were ready for next year.
Yeah. But the real benefit sometimes is just like, if you're looking for cost savings, is the fascia. You're going to spend, an average, I shouldn't say an average deck, but even a small average deck would need like 4 pieces of fascia around the outside. That's $400, $500. If you've got some cutoffs that you can use for that purpose, you've just saved yourself $400 or $500. And it's like, it's a different look, but it still looks good.
Which you could put into lighting.
Ooh.
Right? There you go.
It's not free money. I want it all.
Master Dex says, thanks for the tips, Quigley. The Scottish are good for something after all.
Ooh. A little internal fighting going on.
Yeah,
Wow.
Fired up in there today.
Yeah.
Number 10.
Scott's in. That's good.
Number 10 is another use for those cutoffs, potentially. The old fascia corners.
The old fascia corners.
Good old fascia corners.
You know what we're talking about here. This is something I used to do because it's a really good thing to do. Even if you don't have waste, it's like I would almost buy an extra board to be able to do this. And what we're talking about here is, instead of mitering your fascia at the corners where you change direction, because that's going to open up. Fascia is very unstable. thermally. That's going to open up. It's not even that easy to get those things to line up
Like me
sometimes.
emotionally.
Wade's emotionally unstable. Don't miter Wade.
At least the fascia is not hollow inside.
This is true.
Those fascia corners, sometimes when you're trying to line those up to begin with, the stock you're using is
awful.
not even flat, right? Like, I don't want to name names, but there's some manufacturers of fascia that pretty tough to get those miters to line up to begin with. Yeah. But even if you manage to do it, it ain't going to stay that way. They're going to open, they're going to pop, they're going to do whatever they're going to do. How you can hide those joints really nicely is to use scrap pieces of full 1-inch thick decking, run them vertically on the corners and create a 90-degree. And if you want to get really fancy with it, rabbit out a little slot in behind that you can slide the fascia in behind it. That way, when the fascia does expand and contract, you never see it. It's
Right.
all hidden behind this little lap joint. It's clean as shit. Looks real good.
Greatest.
Clean as shit. That's not a thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
You never had a clean shit? Oh, you're missing out, Bryce.
Some of the kids call them ghosts, actually.
Is that what they call them?
Seriously, that can change the trajectory of my day when that happens. You're like, you drop one, you
Doesn't even splash.
wipe, and you're like, what? What is it? And then you take another piece of toilet paper just to be sure. You're like, oh my goodness, this is gonna be a good day. I used to do it by mitering those two pieces together. What the guys are doing nowadays in the last couple of years here is miter folding those things, heat folding the
Absolutely
corners.
miter fold everything you can.
Why not? Right? So they're doing the same thing we talked about before. They're
Okay, yeah.
V-notching the back 90% of the way through, heating it up, folding it, gluing it, creates a nice seamless corner on the edge of the deck. It looks great. And even in the middle, it doesn't have to be just in the corners either, where you butt two pieces of fascia together in the middle of the deck. It's nice to put a little detail, line it up to the railing post so it looks all symmetrical and looks good.
Yeah.
And
Whoa,
then
how do you
slide
know
your-
where your railing posts are going to be?
Planning is everything.
Oh, I
Wade.
see.
Planning is everything.
Yeah, right.
You still can't get here on time.
No planning.
Yep.
Oh boy, whoa, we're getting some. Wow, what is going on here?
Fight in the comments.
No fighting.
Scott Kelly is excited that you're here again, Wade.
I know. Did you see that picture of him and his son?
Yes.
Scott's all like clean shaven. He's like,
Oh no, I didn't see the one with them together.
Yeah.
I'll have to check
He's
that
got
out.
a young man holding a dog. He's like, his face is all shaved, his head's all shaved.
He
He
took inspiration from me.
must have, yeah.
Here's some good bit of information. We'll just say it out loud. Haney Construction says, not relevant to this podcast, but for any pro on this live feed, DeWalt track saws can use Makita and Festool tracks as well as DeWalt tracks, so you can use their accessories and attachments as well.
Right. And those guys were chatting. Quigley was talking about a Makita router fitting into the Makita track saw.
I see. I knew that Makita and Festool were interchangeable. I didn't know that DeWalt could also do it. So there you go. That's good. TC Deck says he builds cornhole games with his scraps. That's a good idea too.
Yep.
Yeah,
A
it's
little bit longer pieces.
idea.
Why not? Don't do it with decorators or the bean bags won't slide. Little cornholio. Carly can confirm Wade's stability issues. That's good.
That's good.
Rabbiting is legit, says Scott. Majestic is pissed that we gave that away. That was a secret of ours. Now it's all out there. Haney Construction Shane is teaching the kids how to hide joints. The good old days. That's punny.
That's a good one.
What are we saying here? Okay. Are we caught up? There's Haney thinking that Quigley is a Kiwi. He's an Aussie, New Zealand guy again.
Hey, yo.
Not true. Number 11. Well, why? Oh,
Whoa.
I surprised myself with number 11. Snuck up on
Who
me
wrote
there.
that list?
Yeah, you'd think.
My alter ego.
So while we're on the topic of fascia details in the corners and whatnot, sometimes it just makes more sense to use fascia boards deck boards as your fascia, not vertical scraps. Horizontally with 2 rows of decking can give you a better finish in 2 ways, 3 ways, 4 ways.
I was like,
Whoa.
This is like,
you do those, I'll find a fifth way.
let's
Go
just
ahead.
skip this and like, just trust me now.
Here's
So,
the 5 ways we use. What?
number
New
1,
list.
I'm going to forget the 4 that I thought of, but getting through this list. But number 1 is that you can use Cortex plugs with your deck boards and you can't with most fascia.
Oh,
Some
so
of the
you can
fascias
hide
have
it.
it. You can hide your screws better.
Hide your screws.
Instead of using exposed colored screws on your fascia, you get to use plugs now, even on your fascia boards because they're deck boards. So that's a really nice thing. Number 2, it's more stable. It's a thicker stock, so it doesn't like wave on you in heat as much.
Right.
or oil can or whatever you want to call it. So it's more stable that way. 3, it's available in longer dimensions. Fascia is only available in 12 feet, no matter who you're buying it
You
from.
could get a 20-foot piece.
Deck boards, you can go 12, 16, 20. So if your deck's 16 feet wide, you can do it in a single piece, no seam. Whereas fascia, you couldn't do that. And number 4, I've forgotten. Number 4 was
You did
cheaper.
forget. Oh, yeah.
It's
there
often
you go.
cheaper.
Yeah.
So you take a board, like for example, Fibron Good Life, let's say, that we're selling for $3 a linear foot. So 2 rows of that is $6 a linear foot. The fascia board from Fibron in that line is like $11 a linear foot. Mm-hmm. So you're literally almost half the cost to use something that looks better anyway.
And is better, technically.
Yeah. So what are we doing here?
Why are we even selling
Discontinue
fascia?
Let's start a movement.
We should order.
No more fascia.
We should order accordingly.
Right? Yeah, like I think
feel like
start
we have a
pushing
lot of
people.
fascia.
Yeah, we should probably start pushing people that way and be like, don't use it. It costs more. It doesn't look as good. Like you have to be able to, you have to like the 2 rows layer. I think it looks fine. I think it actually sometimes looks better. Sometimes a big 12-inch piece of fascia looks like it's just a big flat, undetailed surface.
You remember when someone came to us with like wide plank decking? That would be perfect for that.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, you could certainly use that for that as well. Like the wide plank stuff, the 9 1/4 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. USMC says, why not eliminate fascia and have no waste? Yeah. That's what I said.
That's what I said.
Sounds simple, but
On a steel frame decking, you don't even need fascia.
Precision Construction says
Sounds
Yeah, USMC.
plugged decking as fascia is the best look there is, except maybe for Fortress Black.
ooh,
Yeah. So the other problem with doing regular fascia is the screw pattern on that they want you to do is obnoxious. And the screws they want you to use are obnoxious, right?
Yeah.
If you use the fascia screws, they got a big dime-sized head on them. They're kind of gaudy looking to begin with. And then they're like, yeah, and we'd like you to have 3 of those every 12 inches. Like you're just peppering the
Right.
board with these screws. Like it's not a good look. So avoid it. What else you got? That's it. So number 12.
Down with fascia.
Do you have any?
You just
You have anything to add to that?
I don't know. I actually kind of feel bad for fascia now.
Hashtag discontinue fascia.
Sort of lit that thing up. Is
Yeah. Fibron's been trying to get rid of it the last couple of years. They stopped making it in the fall. Maybe they're just hoping that'll catch on. Hey, hear me out, guys. Hear me out. If we just stop making it for a few months, you think people will just kind of move on and we won't have to bring it back?
George Bush.
Whoever.
yeah, it's for sure happening in the States.
George
That's what
Bush
you know.
and Obama had a baby and he works for Fibron. Number 12. Did you know Wade?
Yep, I've known a few of them
How would you get a small scratch out of your deck?
with a heater.
Oh,
I'd put a bigger.
You just put a fire pit on your deck?
I'd put
or
a bigger
what?
one beside it.
they won't notice this one anymore. No, but a lot of decking, especially PVC decking, but composite to a certain extent as well, minor nicks and bruises, like little scratches, can be removed with a heat gun.
Do you have any suggestion on how to remove forklift damage on the side?
Yeah, that's going to take
We
like a
seem to have
large...
a couple of those.
Yeah, that's gonna-
happening.
Yeah, that's going
You
to take
just-
a big
you just-
torpedo heater and a lot of time.
Cover it with a mat. You sell the
Yeah.
you sell the
right.
rug, the
Yeah.
outdoor rug.
Hit it with a bigger forklift somewhere else.
I don't know. Have you tried dragging it to site so they don't notice how banged up the side is?
Yeah.
Right.
So the minor scrapes that your deck can have, like, it's crazy, but they can be healed sometimes by wafting a heat gun over it. Now, you want to be careful because some of those heat guns will put out enough heat that you'll gloss up the surface of the decking and potentially damage the decking if you get too hot. But you just kind of waft back and forth over it, and eventually the membrane in the plastic will kind of release, and the scratch that was caused by the texture kind of laying down will stand back up, and all of a sudden the scratch is gone. Or even minor dents, as long as it hasn't cracked the surface of the cap.
This is a PVC trick.
It just expands when it heats
Right.
up, right? So it expands and fills up its little
Hole.
hole. Cap,
Pressure.
scratch. So it's a good little trick.
Yeah.
A lot of contractors know it. It's like, guy got a rock in his boots, puts a little scratch in it. It's like heat gun, away it goes.
Yep.
What do you think number 13 is, Wade?
I don't know.
Well, we're not leaving here till you guess it.
Can I have a hint?
Yeah, what's the best trick in the book?
I don't know that I should read this here.
Take a deposit.
Is that the best trick in the book?
Haney Construction.
I don't know. I think so. If you get a deposit, then you're probably not going to lose any money.
That's true.
What does Majestic Outdoors mean when he says cut out the rents and use it for fascia?
Dents.
Dents.
The dents.
Cut out the dents and then use those pieces for the fascia.
Yeah, I
Cut out the
I was
parents.
like, it's got to be a typo, but I don't know. Couldn't put it together. Haney Construction says, our presidents only suck because we don't have a prime minister. Unrelated. How's your guy, Canadians? Get Wade going here.
No, I don't. I've lost interest in the politics.
Yeah. Carly says the way you hide a forklift damage is to drop that beaver tail on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Number 13 is to cut your own plugs. So this is a good little trick because Cortex/Pro plugs are not cheap sometimes, and sometimes you can only buy them as kits. You can't get just the plugs.
Yep.
And you might run short on a job by 3 or 4 plugs, and then you got to go buy a kit of 224 of them with screws, and it costs you $150. You're like, God,
Yeah.
youch. Or maybe you have some scenario where you've had to put in a little bit bigger of a screw somewhere to accomplish something, and it's like the plugs don't come that big. Well, you can cut your own plugs. It's not magic. You just buy a plug cutter and then you cut your own plugs. So
There's a little bit of magic involved in it.
there's a little bit of tricking to get to the treat, but
Well done.
Whoa.
Waited all day for that.
finally. But if you take a scrap,
Satisfied Shane.
right? Oh. If you take a scrap piece of decking, you can cut some plugs out of that by just grabbing a tapered plug cutter, 1/4 inch is the size if you're using like a Pro Plug or a Cortex system. Flip that. How I used to do is you rip your decking down to a 1/4 inch thick, because that's the depth of those plugs that come in the kit. Face down on a drill press, put the tapered plug cutter in, plunge in, and you can cut your own plugs. It's, in my experience, wasn't ever quite as perfectly clean as the factory plugs, but it was close enough. It was, you get a really good finish on them if you're careful enough. So you need 3 or 4 more. It's worth doing that rather than spending the $150.
No problem.
I would never suggest to anybody that they make their own plugs for an entire deck, because some guys are like, well, I'm going to do this. I got scrap around. Yeah, but by the time you stick some guy and cutting plugs for 3 hours, like, what are you really saving at that point?
Yeah.
But because they also don't fit as nice and like they're a little bit more finicky. But anyways, in a pinch, it works just fine to cut them.
Yeah.
There was one time on a curved deck I had to use a bigger, like a GRK, into a fascia board to get it to suck in on the inside curve because it popped on us. And I went and cut I can't remember what it was, a 3/8 inch plug or maybe even a 1/2 inch plug, and plugged it afterwards, and gone. So couldn't even see it, Wade. I'm telling you.
It wasn't gone. But it was less obvious than
It
looking
was
at
less
the GRK.
obvious than a 1/2 inch gold screw head, that's for sure. Deck Protect cutting plugs, that's fun. Great drill press and beer job. Yeah, you can polish off a few while you're sitting there cutting plugs, that's for sure. Yeah, so what do you think? Is there a 14th today that you, as we went through this list, were thinking of?
Nope.
Good then.
I feel like that was pretty good.
Well, thank you.
A quite
that's
extensive
This
list.
is, kudos to Bryce for popping this idea into my head here today. And it was just like, started
Last
rolling with it.
minute.
And it was like, bang, 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 bang. Oh, 13. Perfect. We'll end it here then. So,
Good.
anyways, hope you all enjoy your Halloween evening tomorrow night. Or
Happy
whenever you're
Halloween.
listening to this podcast. Hopefully you're all dressed up as sexy bananas, because that's sweet. And
Sexy
until,
Hulk Hogan.
yeah, that too. That would be, I actually want pictures. I hope somebody dresses up as that.
It's just what his daughter looks like, isn't it?
That's what somebody
Brooke.
said. Brooke. Take it easy, everybody.
Listening to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Now you know what we're about. Check the site, come and shop. UltimateDeckShop.com. Hit us right away for sponsorships, or tell us if you want to collaborate. Let's go. Check us out on any social networks. Thank you for listening.